أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Ibn Rushd refuted, and I have tried to refute the heretic Ibn Rushd on his false allegation on Asharites, moderate Asharites and Sulfites. Even I will see his objections against extreme Asharites as well, but at some later stage. Now, I have written the work. It is not just an oral work I have written, and I am going to deliver several lectures, and my students and listeners should try to understand that this is not something which can be neglected so easily. So the Maturidites and moderate Asharites do not deny the connection between a per se contingent existing cause and per se contingent existing effect. So what is per se contingent? That is not necessary in existence. I will in some later lectures try to explain these terms more clearly. However, at present you may say anything that is not necessary, per se necessary, self necessary, it is per se contingent. I will not use the word possible because this is more precise for the term. So they generally use them. However, the Muslim theologians of al-Sunnah generally use the word musabbib for the cause and musabbab for the effect. Often the word sabab is also used in the meaning of musabbib. So what is the musabbib mean? Musabbib means sabab or cause, and musabbab means effect. So why they prefer other terms and not use the word ʿillah plural ʿilal for cause and Maʿlūl plural malulat meaning effect or effects. So why they reject these two terms and use these two terms? Because philosophers use these terms with the idea that there is a necessary connection. So they move in towards alternative terms to show that the connection is not necessary. But they do not deny this thing. So change of terms does not mean that they deny the cause and effect. However, they only deny the word, the concept of necessary connection or necessary relation between cause and effect. But as philosophers were accustomed to use the word ʿilal or malulat for necessary connecting cause and effects, they choose another word, but the meaning is same. In translation, we will use for the cause and effect instead of other terms. The philosopher used these terms strictly for the necessary connection between a cause and its effect. The theologians preferred a new set of terms to reject this necessity, not to reject the connection or the relation itself. In general, they do not deny a relation between a cause and its effect, or between an effect and its cause, but they say that if the cause is per se contingent and exists, so it is very important, yani mumkin bizzat mawjood, and effect is per se contingent and exists, then the relation between them is also per se contingent and exists. So in other words, if cause is contingent and the effect is also contingent, then the relation or connection between this cause and its effect, or this effect and its cause, is also contingent and exists. So this is very important thing. It's also in the system of Ibn Rushd. In this system, the objection of old Ibn Rushd fails. Why I called him old? Because many of his ideas are against science. But those who try to attack Imam Ghazali and his like-minded Maturidi and moderate Asharites, what do? They try to pick up objections of Ibn Rushd which are against based on false allegations on moderate Asharitism and moderate Maturidites. Well, Maturidites, they have almost same view on this issue. The Ibn Rushd argument rests upon the non-existence of relation between a per se contingent cause and its per se contingent effect. In short form, the objection is based on the non-existence of a relation between a contingent cause and contingent effect. If you feel inconvenient by using the word per se, so you may neglect it, but it is just to show the exact concept. However, if it is granted that the non-existence of the relation or connection stated above implies the non-existence of knowledge, of contingent knowledge, this argument fails in the present case for the per se contingency al-imkan al-dhati of the non-existence of the relation or contingent implies or entails only the per se contingency of the non-existence of the per se contingent knowledge and not the actual non-existence of the per se contingent knowledge. Very difficult. So it is only means that knowledge of the non-divine knowledge is contingent or possible, and if the connection between a cause and the effect is possible and the non-existence of this possible is also possible, then at best it implies the possibility of the non-contingent possibility of the contingent knowledge or non-divine knowledge. So this is the only thing, but this possibility does not imply the actual non-existence of the contingent knowledge. So now please, to my students, I'll use some difficult terms and try some time later, and as they maybe have the ability to absorb these terms and this discussion. If the non-existence adam or madumia of a relation, rabt or connection, relation, ta'alluq discussed above implies the non-existence of per se contingent existing knowledge, the per se contingency of the non-existence of the existing relation or connection only implies the per se contingency of the non-existence of the per se contingency of per se contingent of existing knowledge. Very difficult. Nota bene, non-divine knowledge is per se contingent and not per se necessary, so this per se contingency is intrinsic to this kind or type of knowledge. That is, if you try to remove this intrinsic property or characteristic of the knowledge, it ceases to be knowledge. It ceases to be anything. It implies contradiction. For the removal of lawazim zatiya, anizat, self implications from anything implies its impossibility, per se impossibility or per se absurdity. So what I want to say, this is a very difficult thing. Now I want to make it easy for new listeners. This is that if cause is possible and its effect is possible, the connection between cause and effect is also possible, not necessary. Again, if the connection or relation that is possible exists, non-existence of the relation and or the connection also non-existence is possible. Now this possibility of non-existence, if it implies the possibility of non-existence of non-divine knowledge, which is itself possible, so it does not means that it implies the non-existence of the knowledge, since the possibility of non-existence of possible existence does not imply the non-existence of the possible existence. So this is very difficult, and Ibn Rushd knew that this is a difficult topic, therefore he first alleged a false accusation on Asharites and Maturidites. He even knew that Ghazali was not has not denied the connection between cause and effect. However, one more thing, what did Ghazali do? Ghazali used all the arguments available to him where it was based on non-existence or of a connection, or it was based on the contingent existence of the connection. But regardless of this, he put all the arguments. This we called mani. Mani mean alif, noon, ain. Mani means that or mana. Mana means that it is not my position, but you cannot even refute this position. This is a particular polynomic way or theological way in arguments. For example, if someone says A and I say that B, but B is not my position, but I want to show that your system is so weak that you cannot even disprove B, and my original position is C. So I will present both arguments B and C, but not this means that I hold B as my original position. So there is something ascending position and sometimes descending position. So what Ghazali is doing, he is trying to show everything he has got, from whether it is ascending from his original position or descending from his original position, but anything just to show, just to prove that the system of philosophers is weak, and that Tajizus philosopher, that the philosophers are do not have the power to defend these positions. So again, and Ibn Rushd, what did he do? He made objections. He made false allegations. He knew that what he is doing, and this is not the only place that he has made some false allegations and try to refute them. Why? Because he himself knew that Ghazali's position is extremely strong, if not infinitely strong, in these discussions. So anyone who do not try to understand what Ibn Rushd is doing, he thinks that Ghazali is the basic cause of downfall. No, he is not the basic cause of the downfall. Our discussion on the cause and causations continue.